Seasons after seasons of anime coming out, there's bound to be a couple that hit the mark and resonate with its audience, whether this leaves them with a simple, that was enjoyable mindset, or if it inspires them to start coming up with their own story to tell. The endless sea that is anime will only continue to grow as the seasons come and go. Today we're going to look at one of those, one I'm sure either everyone has seen or no one has heard of. A Silent Voice is a film that came out 6 months after the now highest grossing anime film in history, Your Name. From what I've seen, this film either ends up on the top 5 of many people's anime films lists or is not present at all. With the massive success that was Your Name, it's understandable how this breathtaking movie about a boy's path to learning how to live is overlooked. To briefly summarize the movie, since the only people who should be watching this should be the people who have already seen it, the movie is about Shoya and his path to learning how to live after relentlessly bullying a girl named Shoko back in 6th grade with his fellow classmates, only for those fellow classmates to eventually turn on to him. Shoya, being isolated from his class and his peers, started to hate the people surrounding him, eventually isolating himself from his peers on his own accord. The story follows his path to opening back up to the idea of friends and the ups and downs of friendship, eventually turning the hatred he had for others because of what was done to him to compassion and camaraderie for others. Meanwhile, Shoko learns how not to blame herself for the actions of others, that she is not the burden that only exists to ruin the lives of the people around her. It's almost like two different sides of the same coin. One learns not to push the blame onto others, and the other learns not to push the blame onto themselves. Putting aside the manga and the movie and the differences between the two mediums, A Silent Voice offers something much more than an interesting story to tell. It wants the viewer to think and reflect on a multitude of things. I'm not here to tell you what each of them mean, or what the film tries to tell you. It's really up to you to figure out what truth to take away from it. That truth can be asking yourself what a friend truly is, or even how your actions can affect the lives of those around you. That's what's beautiful about it. It never tells you how to think and feel about certain actions the characters take. It never even has a true antagonist. Even though the actions and thinking of some characters can be extreme, they're all grounded in reality. You can understand why Shoya's friends might have turned on him. I mean, Shoya did try to drag them down with him. You can even see why Shoko feels as if everything that happens to Shoya is her fault. She couldn't do or say anything to stop everyone from fighting on the bridge. A Silent Voice is not a movie that just wants to tell you a story. It's a movie that wants us to ask who we are as people and how we can be better. As Shoya says, it's not about how you change, since simply some things can't be changed, but it's the time you spend trying to change that's more important. Coming from Kyoto Animation, you already know the quality is second to none. Its visual storytelling it shows through the small actions of background characters on screen and the beautiful soundtrack that follows suit. It's hard to put in words just how beautiful the world it takes place in is. The beautiful visuals, the touching soundtrack, and its message it wants to give to the audience all make up a masterpiece. In a way, it's poetic. The story about how the larger society overlooks things such as suicide, depression, bullying, gets overlooked itself, failing to even get the nomination for an Oscar up against the likes of movies like The Boss Baby. Whether this fully reflects on society's views of such topics, choosing to ignore them rather than understanding and facing them, is hard to tell. But from what I can tell, A Silent Voice is nothing short of perfection. Beyond surface-level judgments of things such as visuals or soundtracks, it offers something much more. Each of us has so much power, so much influence on the life around us. Our ability to influence is much greater than people realize. People often get too caught up on the minute details such as how many followers we have or how many friends we have. Both these things don't matter, as even an act of kindness from a stranger can still go a long way. You could be the sole reason somebody decided to make it to the end of the day. Your single act of kindness may mean nothing to you, but for those who you influenced, it may mean the world at that moment. At the same time, this can also tip in the opposite side of the spectrum, as you may be the sole reason somebody had an awful day. It's scary to think that you could be the reason why somebody is upset, but it's a reality that can be true. A Silent Voice shows both of these sides, as a single act caused Shoko to hate the time she spent in middle school, but it was also a single act that allowed her to forgive Shoya for everything he did in the past. The movie also demonstrates something we often forget to do: forgive. The forgiveness of others, but also of oneself. We often want to hold on to the things that people have done to us. It's survival. You wouldn't want to get burned by the same flame twice. The problem arises when you won't allow the chance for forgiveness to blossom. We latch onto the wrongdoings of other people in the past so tightly, we forget that people can change for the better. It's tiring to always assume the worst of everyone. What's even more difficult, though, is forgiving yourself. Just like we hold on to what other people have done to us, we can also hold on what we have done to other people. Guilt is the obvious byproduct of this. We feel guilty about the things we might have done wrong. It's hard to forgive yourself when the other person hasn't forgiven you. This again is a problem when, after they forgive you, you can't forgive yourself. Letting your actions define who you are, rather than letting who you are define your actions. There is no escape from the past and all its mistakes. You're only hurting yourself by thinking you can't change from it. The ability to make you reflect and think about things that we would rather ignore is something you don't find too often in movies now. Trying to figure out if you're the person you want to be, and if you're not, what are you going to do to try to become that person? So, if you haven't already seen A Silent Voice, it's a movie you can only see for the first time once. There's no point of robbing yourself from seeing some of Kyoto Annie's best work, as well as a touching story teaching you how to live. Okay. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. This was a very difficult video to make. Not in the same sense as the other videos I've made. It's more of like, it's hard talking about this movie just because I really like this movie and this manga. You know, I hold it in such high regard. It is one of my favorites, if not the favorite manga, movie, whatever. You know, I really respect this. I can't really express how much I like this, like how much I love this like story, you know. And so this might be a little bit of a longer end segment, so I'm sorry for my rambling, but I have maybe 1 or 2 videos I know I want to make on this. I really wanted to make a whole bunch of them, you know, talk about each and every character, but I don't think I can, just because this is genuinely such a good story that it's one of those that you have to read for yourself, and me telling you how to think just kind of goes against the whole point of the story, you know? So I might talk about it a little bit, but even though I really want to, it would be very difficult for me to even make a whole bunch of videos on it, just because, like, I just love this story so much. So if you haven't already, please really watch this and even read the manga. The movie is beautiful, but the manga just really adds a whole new layer to everything. I love it so much. Anyways, sorry for the ramble. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.